What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. We're back to you for week 7 of Chamber Chat. We're rolling them along. We're continuing to check in with members, and we're excited to check in with Jennifer Leek today with Assessment Pros. Jennifer, how are you? Good to see you. I know we haven't met in person yet, but we will soon, and I'm confident we will. Let us know how you're doing, and just wanted to kind of check in with you. So what's going on?
Well, hi, Eric, and thanks so much for the invite. I'm a little bit socially craving the chamber, so this is my little fix for today.
Yeah.
But I've been a remote worker for a while, so other than my chamber, the networking events, life's not too much different. But it's great that you have at least. This is week 7, so I just lose what time of day it is and what day it is and all that kind of stuff. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've stumbled a few times in our chamber chats recently saying, I don't know what day it is. And then I'm like, well, it's Friday. Wait, I don't know. So certainly understand. And we'll look forward to getting back to our events. And but yeah, this is how we've adjusted and wanted to still check in with members. So we appreciate the feedback and joining us. So
and I do want to thank you for how you're supporting both all the members and informing us. So great job, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate that. There's a few things that we discussed before we started recording of resources that you're providing through your partnerships and collaborations that we really wanted to hit on. And I guess I'm going to kind of throw it right to you. You mentioned 3 specific things that we wanted to talk about. Well, 4, but 3 in one category about, HR departments of one, your COVID-19 resources that you've added to the website, and then regarding remote working. So I'm going to let you kind of jump right into it. And if you want to go through those 3 points, and then I'll kind of summarize the end. I know we had one other aspect we wanted to talk about as well. So go for it, Jennifer.
Okay, great. Thanks. Most of what Assessment Pros does is helping companies really get more performance out of their people. So, how to hire, how to develop, and how to retain their key talent. And we're into people analytics. So that's why Assessment Pros. And one of the things that I've had the chance to do through our local SHRM chapter, which is the HR chapter here, Society of Human Resource Management, for members who don't know what that is sometimes companies are big enough to have an HR person, but not a department. So it's called the HR department of one. And they're outnumbered, they're overwhelmed, they don't have anybody else to talk to. So our local chapter started an HR department of one special interest group. And we meet virtually 2 months in a row. And then we were having a live meeting, a live lunch. So I just wanted people to know that if you are a company and you do have an HR person and they are an HR department of one, please reach out to me, because we'd love to give you the information of, we meet on Zoom like this 2 months in a row, and then we meet live. And it just that I'm so impressed with the knowledge in the room. I'm so impressed with the collaboration in the room. And, they're just, HR people are group hug people anyway. So So I just wanted them to know about the HR department of one. And in our last meeting, we started talking about what does HR have to do to not only handle the COVID crisis, but to maybe start to gear up businesses again. Mm-hmm. And we, in our little small group, had a resource page. And I thought, why should this be kept secret? I don't know of anybody that has consolidated various things. Local lawyers are putting out information, the state, the federal government, but I hadn't seen anything where there was a one-stop shop. So as I know about resources, if anybody knows about resources, please shoot them to me. But on the Assessment Pros website, there is a COVID-19 resource page, and I'm just trying to be a repository for all that information.
Great, and we'll be sure to share that resource page. It'll show up on your screen right now through assessmentpros.com, and then under the resources tab, I'm actually looking at my alternate screen. It looks like it's the second option down under Let's Get Engaged. So thanks for sharing that. And you mentioned with the remote working, you this is normal to you, and you mentioned that via Zoom, which is the platform we're of course using, mm-hmm. that you were an early adopter to it, and you've been using it for half a dozen years. So talk about the managing remote working resource that you have available through your partnerships.
Traditionally we've had good people working and managing in offices, and now there is a whole different environment. We took these great workers and threw them into an environment that statistics show 2/3 are going to be struggling. And we don't want to be losing any workers right now. And we don't want any workers getting fired just because the environment's so different. So because of, there's challenges of the lack of social interaction, the time management, the communication delays, and home distractions. So one of the companies I buy assessments from is called Best Work Data out of Atlanta, Georgia. And in one of our calls, we were talking about the challenge of how do we keep remote workers from struggling and failing. I've been one for years. I have clients all over the country. Most I've never met in person. And so I do know the challenges, but I do know the benefits of remote workers. And I don't think remote working is going to go away. I've seen statistics that up to 20% will forever be remote workers. So I think it's a situation we need to be looking at as business owners and how to manage those people. So Best Work Data said this is such a challenge. They invented a report off of their database for remote workers. It's a 10-minute survey. You just go online, you complete the assessment or the survey, and you get a report for the remote worker, a remote for the manager to understand the remote worker. And then the manager can also take the survey and know, how can I be a remote worker coach? And they're so committed to the supporting remote workers right now that these reports are available to any business who wants them at no cost. And I'd like to let people know about that too.
Yeah, that's great. And it's wanted to revert back a little bit to the numbers that you mentioned on, 2/3 of remote workers are struggling, and 20%, are going to continue the remote working. It just shows the ways that everybody is kind of re-envisioning what would used to be kind of standard operating procedures to making sure that they're taking care of their people, taking care of their employees, so that ultimately they can be more productive. And I appreciate you sharing that. So one last thing we wanted to hit was another resource under your page. I want to make sure I don't mess it up. Was the Sales Hiring Straight Talk and the podcast series that you've created. And you mentioned, with, remote working and how folks are going to have to start, already have been, and are going to have to continue to hire virtually to the point where they're going to go through the whole process, hire, offer, and hopefully have those candidates accept positions. And then who knows when they're going to actually be able to see them in person. So speak to that a little bit briefly on really that series and the series in general of the Straight Talk podcast and this specific focus that's kind of pertinent right now.
Well, it's called Sales Hiring Straight Talk, but you could take the word sales out of there. It was designed for sales managers. But it could really just be hiring straight talk. And of course, what you want to do is launch a podcast right before a pandemic hits, I have a partner out of the Boston area, and so we launched it and then discovered the situation that I had mentioned, that your position is open, but your office is not. So you have to hire, onboard, train, and manage a person you may have never, ever met in person. So for me personally, I think assessments are valuable because you don't have that subjective data of meeting them. But the podcasts talk about a 6-step hiring process. And then we just launched a series that we're working on right now on how to do that 6 steps in a virtual environment. And so Sales Hiring Straight Talk podcast that we are, just starting out with. There's only about 12 podcasts, but it was a fun learning process, and we thought we had some message we wanted to get out to hiring people.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So we'll be able to share that resource as well. And really just to kind of recap and wrap up, the best way for folks to access the COVID-19 resources, the Hiring Straight Talk podcast, as well as all the different ways that you can help and Assessment Pros can help, is through assessmentpros.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. Or Jennifer at assessmentpros.com. And don't forget the HR department of one, because we do want to make sure that people know about that too.
Yes. No, thank you. Yes. HR department of one. Jennifer at assessmentpros.com, assessmentpros.com. Multiple ways to reach you and just multiple resources and initiatives. And I applaud you for continuing to connect with the region, connect with businesses, and kind of continue the remote work that you've been used to. And I think that brings us kind of a sense of positivity when you kind of say, hey, I'm used to this. We can all do this. We can all work together to accomplish what our goals are. So Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us. Such a jam-packed, informative chamber chat as we love to, and we're going to continue to do. So thanks for taking the time, and really appreciate your continued support of the chamber and our initiatives here in the region. Folks, that wraps up Monday, week 7. I think that's where we're at, version of Chamber Chat. The weather looks like it's going to continue to improve. Be safe, be healthy, make it a great week, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.